Hey guys, this is Jax back at Macca. I am Macca, and 2019 was a great year for video games. Actually, almost every year is great for video games. You know, now that I think about it, that phrase kind of has no meaning. Every January, I see top 10 lists that always start with the exact same words, only with a different number slapped onto it. The only year in recent memory that wasn't great for video games was like 2016, maybe? I mean, we got an underwhelming Pokemon game, the Ratchet & Clank remake was a disappointment in many fans' eyes, Star Fox Zero was divisive, to say the least, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE was also divisive, but for different reasons that may or may not be fair, Dead Rising 4 killed the franchise even deader, the Xbox One continued to have nothing to play, and the Wii U struggled to not die on the hospital bed with its dick out just after its family walked in. However, we also got Dark Souls 3, which my roommate literally cried over, Overwatch released to critical acclaim regardless of the state it's in now, Kirby Planet Robobot released, which is the best Kirby game, Watch_Dogs 2 came out and proved that that series was actually worth something, and Uncharted 4 was a thing, which I think it's one of the better games in that series. There was a lot of good and a lot of bad that year, so I hesitate to really give it a definitive answer. What was this video about again? Oh yeah, I'm gonna talk about every game I played in 2019. In total, I played 23 games this year, both new and old, so I can't spend a bunch of time on every single one. Essentially, if I talk a lot about a game, it really says something about it. Also note that this is every game I played and beat. There were some games I touched, but since I never really got anywhere with them, I won't be talking about them. Anyway, let's get started with Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition is a great game with a bunch of added content, easily earning it the title of Definitive. But it's got a pretty awful localization. Biggest offenders being the lack of Troy Baker as Yuri Lowell despite Troy saying he wanted to come back, the inconsistent pronunciation of various terms, and the bewilderingly compressed audio quality for the newly recorded skits.
When someone as strong as Pharaoh tells you not to go messing with Zada, it makes you wonder.
Why did Yuri fall at Zod anyway?
Definitely. If it's really all that dangerous, you'd think he'd want to make himself clear.
Wait, Patty is certainly young, but that's not everything, right?
Travis Strikes Again No More Heroes is not No More Heroes 3. What it is a pretty decent game. The gameplay does get repetitive, but the Suda51 charm is there in full force. When you take into account how the game is about Suda's relationship with the video game industry over the last 10 years or so, it makes it even more memorable despite its shortcomings. I totally understand someone not liking it though. Even if I really liked what the game was doing, I don't really want to play it again. I'd rather just go watch the Gaming Brits video on it instead. Fuck, Resident Evil 2 is so good. Easily one of the greatest remakes of all time. I don't really have a lot to say that hasn't already been said. Leon and Claire are cute, the Resident Evil 3 remake looks to be just as stellar, and I don't know, I hope Chris finally gets some of Leon's semen. Just go play Resident Evil 2, like, oh my god, it's so good. You know, it's both surprising and not that Kingdom Hearts 3 is divisive amongst the fans. Personally, it probably has my favorite combat system in a Kingdom Hearts game, but I can still see why someone would prefer Kingdom Hearts 2. Story is pretty disappointing, that I can completely understand, but I'm writing this before playing the Remind DLC, so who knows how my opinion will change. What really impressed me though, was that somehow Kingdom freaking Hearts, was able to set up and perfectly execute a plot twist that was being built towards over the course of multiple games, and it makes complete sense. What the fuck? Jet Set Radio Future is now one of my favorite games of all time. It is easily tied with the original Dreamcast game. There are aspects of Future that I like more than the original, and vice versa. I prefer the movement options of Future, while I prefer the arcade structure of the original over the connected areas. I got annoyed at times when I had to skate across multiple parts of the city just to get to one area, especially when it can require very precise actions to get to specific points. I also feel the original had a more varied soundtrack, but both are still godlike. Regardless, this game is great. I loved it. Sega, please just give me a new Jet Set Radio. I'll do anything. Please. Please. I'll suck your dick. Please. Dragon Marked for Death. Really solid gameplay, but it falls into a similar trap that earlier Monster Hunter games do. Unless I'm playing with friends, I find it to be too much of a grind to play on my own. It still plays like Mega Man Zero, which is phenomenal, but the way things are designed, I just couldn't get far enough alone without losing steam. It doesn't help that I could never find a party to play with online, even with just a bunch of strangers. I tried multiple times throughout the year, and every single time, I always came back with the same no party found. I don't know if it was something wrong with my internet or if the game is actually that dead, but I really wanted to play more of this game, and I just couldn't. Devil May Cry 5 is my new favorite character action game. It is utterly phenomenal in practically every aspect. The only thing it doesn't do as well as past entries is the story, and that's only because I feel Devil May Cry 3 had better emotional weight behind it. That's not to say 5 doesn't have emotional weight, it's just not as heavy. Regardless, DMC 5 is easily my game of the year, and it quickly worked its way into my top 5 games of all time. I've been meaning to play The Witness for a long time. I've always heard it was phenomenal, and I honestly get the hype. I'm really amazed at how complex they were able to make what is literally just a bunch of line puzzles. I will say I was hoping for something less metaphorical and pretentious in terms of story, but I'm still glad I played it. Zanki Zero Last Beginning is really disappointing. Lots of good ideas, but the execution was mixed, to say the least. I did a short summary of my feelings on the game in my Selling Yuan Katana Zero video, so go watch that. I hope the Danganronpa team is able to make something better in the future, as this first release doesn't breed a lot of confidence in me that they're able to make something good without Kodaka at the helm. I loved Katana Zero so much, I went and made an impromptu Selling Yuan for the game. That's how much I loved it. Please, go watch my Selling Yuan Katana Zero if you want to know my full feelings on the game. Please, let me sell you on this game. Seriously, I need a sequel as soon as possible. Xenogears is a phenomenal game. It has tons of great ideas that sadly never got improved or built upon. The second disc is pretty awful from both a gameplay and a storytelling perspective, but the entire experience was definitely worth it. It's such a shame we'll never get to properly see this story as originally intended, but Xenogears is still able to stand on its own regardless. But anyway, I am so fucking ready for Xenoblade Definitive Edition. God! I am amazed at how well Final Fantasy Adventure or Adventure of Mana or whatever you want to call it holds up. If you like any of the Game Boy Zelda games, you're gonna like this one. It plays and is structured exactly like a 2D Zelda game, only replace the puzzle solving with a more involved combat system with various weapons that each have their own level of interactivity with the world. The music is also pretty damn good, if I do say so myself. It quickly shot up my admittedly very small top Game Boy games list. You know, I'm surprised that I 100%ed the story mode in Super Mario Maker 2. Overall, this game feels like the better of the two Mario Makers, but it lacks a lot of the charm of the original. The Master Sword power-up is fantastic, and it makes me very excited to see what else they have in store, but they're gonna need to bring in a lot more of the smaller details that made the original game so great. Judgment, the game previously starring Coke Man. Loved it. The Dragon Engine finally feels mastered, as all of the problems I had with Yakuza 6 and Kiwami 2 are finally ironed out. Hopefully this game gets a sequel and it continues to improve on everything it does here, because Yakuza 7's going in a different direction combat-wise that I'm still not sure about. Fire Emblem Three Houses is the first Fire Emblem game I really got into, let alone actually beat. I can see why people love this series so much, but I think I still prefer Devil Survivor. You know, cause like, press turn? I should go back and do another route at some point and not just do the Black Eagles route. Byleth was a lame way to end off what was originally intended to be the final DLC character for Smash Ultimate. Astral Chain is easily Platinum's most unique game yet. It combines elements from almost all of their major releases, yet plays in a way that feels just as foreign as it does familiar. When the game was first announced, I thought it was a Xenoblade X sequel. While I still want an X2, I'm shocked at how many similarities this game has with it, even down to a story with plot points that don't get resolved because it's so clearly trying to set up a sequel that I now desperately want. Oh hey, it's the game I did like 4 videos on this year and spent a solid 7 months of my life stressing out over my 2 biggest videos yet for. I did a 20-minute video review on my thoughts and feelings for I, but I'll do a quick, short summary here. I really liked I, the Somnium Files. I wouldn't say love, but the game really impressed me. For the most part, I prefer how the storytelling was in the Xeroscape games, but the game excels in a number of ways that surpassed even my favorite Uchikoshi title, Virtue's Last Reward. It's the perfect game to introduce someone to Uchikoshi's work, particularly for someone who might not be able to get into visual novels. To top it all off, it's easily the funniest game I played in 2019. I took 188 pictures and videos using my Switch's capture function, making I my second most captured game. If you didn't watch my videos on I, please do yourself a favor and go play this great game. Also, go please watch my videos on I'd appreciate it. Also subscribe, because I'm like 100 subscribers away from 1,000. Also leave a like and comment. So I did a Is a Good Game on Dragon Quest XI's, and honestly, my opinion on the game just improved the further into it I got. The characters are all phenomenal, the combat is amazingly fun, and while the story never becomes anything more than predictable, it's still a ton of fun and is perfectly fine. While I wouldn't say bog standard anymore, I will still say the game is a prime example of what a JRPG is and proof that you can make even the most generic tropes still work today. Though what I will say is that I've never been more frustrated with a silent protagonist than I am with this game. The game goes out of its way to show you that yes, The hero did talk and had a personality at one point in his life, only to randomly go quiet and barely react to things as he got older. It's even more frustrating when you get to the post-game story. I was literally screaming for him to do something about the thing he and only he knew was going to happen. There's a right way and a wrong way to do silent protagonists. Either go all in on the silent self-insert protagonist, or do what Mega 10 and Wind Waker to Skyward Sword 3D Zelda games did/do. Link and Joker clearly have a personality hidden underneath their silence. The hero of Dragon Quest XI does not. And above all, don't write the character to be a fucking idiot just to move the plot forward. Death Stranding is a weird as hell game. Not in the Kojima is weird way, though that is still true, but in a I can completely understand someone loving this game to death and others hating this game's guts way. It's the prime example of a game that's not for everyone. Now, I am a huge Kojima fanboy, but I'm not blind to the problems of Death Stranding. The beginning is incredibly slow, the dialogue is awkward and even at times outright terrible, and the game can get repetitive. But I've never played a game like this. I've never been this invested in what is literally delivering packages. Things like having to account for weight distribution, how rough the terrain is, how much I can carry, the obstacles I'll be facing along the way, how I can circumnavigate the world to mitigate any problems that might surface, and many more aspects you have to micromanage, was able to turn what is essentially walking from point A to point B into an engagingly stressful yet therapeutic gameplay loop that stayed rewarding. Kojima had a vision, and it was completely uncompromised. I've never seen a game perfectly encapsulate why our country's infrastructure needs to be redone. Now let's get out there and rebuild and replan the United States roadways. Catherine is one of the best games Atlus has ever released, and in my opinion, it's the best story Atlus has told. Now, with Full Body, it falls into line with a lot of the new waifu Atlus re-releases. Fantastic gameplay changes that improve the original game, and new aspects added to the story involving a new waifu that has mixed results. I don't want to go too in-depth here as I plan to make a video about it, but Full Body is still a great game and one of the best experiences you can have with an Atlus game. Also, gotta give credit where it's due, at least one enhanced re-release of a game where Troy Baker played the main character actually bothered to get Troy Baker back. Best game, best game, best game, best game, best game, best game, fuck! Doom to 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 doom. Consume that flesh kinda sucks ass, but whatever. Who fucking cares? It's fucking Doom. If you were to tell me that the last game I was going to play in 2019 not only would rival my favorite game of 2019, but would easily get into my top 5 games of all time, I wouldn't believe you. Hollow Knight is one of the greatest games I've ever played. The visuals, the music, the feel, the exploration, the combat, the characters, the story, it's all so wonderful. Metroidvanias are my favorite type of 2D platformers. The ability to explore at my leisure, finding various upgrades that make me stronger, and returning to areas that I once found challenging, only to curb stomp my way through it, not only because of my increased strength, but also my increased skill, is one of the best feelings these games have to offer. Hollow Knight encompasses everything I love about Metroidvanias and sprinkles on top a beautiful world in art style that is both cute and creepy, a bunch of weirdos that I came to love over time, and a fascinating story that reveals itself in a way similar to the various games by FromSoft. I genuinely hate the fact that I waited so long to finally play this game. It was the last game I played in 2019, and yet it somehow ended up being tied with Devil May Cry 5 as the best game I played that year. And there you have it, every game I played in 2019. At least those are the ones I remember playing. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 games I'm missing. I guess that's what I get for thinking of this idea 9 months into the year and having to work backwards from there. But don't worry, I plan on doing better to keep track of every game I play in 2020. I've been getting tired of doing top 10 lists each year, as not only narrowing it down to 10 games difficult, but I want to touch on everything and not just the best. But what games did you play in 2019 that stuck out to you? It could be your game of the year, or it could be a game you actively wish you could repress into the recesses of your mind. In case it wasn't clear, my favorite games were Devil May Cry 5 and Hollow Knight, while my least favorite was easily Zanki Zero. 2 games that utterly blew me away with how mind-blowingly good they were, and a game that was just incredibly disappointing in almost every respect. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like while you're down there telling me about that standout game. If you want more like this, subscribe and hit the bell to know exactly when my next video is out. Next month, I'm doing a video review / analysis of Catherine Full Body, so stick around if you want to see my full thoughts on the game. I'll see you guys next time for whatever the hell it is I come up with next. Wait,